Hello everyone, I am Kirtna Ramesh, pursuing second MSc Microbiology in Vivekananda Arts and Science College for Women, Sangagiri, Salem. This presentation is part of my coursework in the subject Soil and Environmental Microbiology undertaken by Dr. R. Dinesh Kumar Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology, VIAS. Let us discuss about an important topic in plant pathology, that is structural and inducible biochemical defense mechanism in plants. How plants are protecting themselves from a pathogen. Just like humans have an immune system to fight against the disease, plants also have their own defense mechanism to protect themselves. Since plant cannot move away from the danger, they develop different types of structural and biochemical defense to survive against the pathogen and pest. Now let us look into the objective. The first objective is to study and compare the structural defense in plants. This means we will look at the different physical barrier that plants already have, like cuticle, trichomes, etc., and understand how this helps to prevent pathogens from entering. The second objective is to investigate inducible biochemical defense mechanisms. Means plants not only rely on the primary structures, but they can also produce several chemical components only after the infections. So in this objective, we focus on how plants make compounds like phytoalexins, PR proteins as part of their defense. Explore the interaction between structural and biochemical responses. How the structural barrier and biochemical defense work together to give a complete protection against the pathogen for the plant. Classification of defense mechanism in plants. It is majorly classified into two types. They are structural defense mechanism and biochemical defense mechanism. The structural defense mechanism is further classified into two types. They are pre-existing structural defense and post-infection or induced structural defense. Whereas the biochemical defense mechanism is also classified into two types. They are pre-existing biochemical defense and post-infectional or induced biochemical defense. Now let us talk about the structural defense in plants. The structural defense mechanism in plants these are the pre-formed physical barrier that the plant already have even before any infection. Just like our skin, hair and nails that are used to protect us from the dust, germs or any other injuries. Likewise, plants also have their own bodyguard. These are called structural defense mechanisms. Pre-existing structural defense. Plants are normally born with some permanent shields. These shields normally we call it as pre-existing structural defense. They are always present whether the plant is attacked or not. For example, cuticle and epicuticular waxes, epidermal cell wall, bark and cork layers, trichomes, stomatal openings and closings, seed coat and fruit skin. First, let us discuss about the cuticle. The cuticle is a thin waxy layer that covers the outer surface of leaves, stems, fruits and even some flowers. Imagine we are wearing a raincoat. What will happen? It keeps our body dry and prevent water from soaking in. Similarly, the cuticle now, it acts like a raincoat for the plant, preventing excess water loss and blocking harmful microbes from entering into the plant body. It is mainly made up of a special material called cutin along with the waxes. Because of this, most fungal spores and bacteria that land on the leaf surface slip away or cannot easily penetrate. Now, on the top of the cuticle, plants also have an extra protective layer called epicutical waxes. Just think as the polish on the top of the raincoat, making it not only waterproof but also slippery. They reduce wetting of the leaf so that water carrying fungal spores does not stay on long on the leaves, and sometimes even reflect excess sunlight, protecting the leaf from the UV damage. Trichomes. Trichomes are simply tiny hair-like structures that grow on the surface of leaves, stems, or even fruits. In humans, the hair in our skin, no, it gives us extra protection and sometimes even a warning when something touches us. In plants, trichomes work the same way. They act as a mini bodyguard on the surfaces. Some trichomes are even sharp like tiny needles which irritate the mouthpart of herbivores. Just like when we accidentally touch a cactus spine, animals also avoid leaves with sharp trichomes. Stomatal opening. Plants have their tiny spore on their leaves called stomata. They are like window in our house. They can open and close to let air in and out. Normally what happens? The stomata open to take carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and release the oxygen. But here the tricky part is that is pathogen like bacteria and fungi often try to sneak inside the plant through this open. So plants have learned a smart trick that have when they sense danger, they shut their stomata tightly, just like how we quickly close our eyes when dust is about to enter. Post-infectional defense mechanism refers to the protective response that a plant activates only after a pathogen has entered or started the infection. In simple words, what we say, if the first barrier fails and then the intruder breaks in the plant immediately. So it switches on the emergency defense such as producing new structural barriers or antimicrobial chemicals. For example, post-infectional defense mechanisms include papilla formation, formation of thyloses, abscission layer formation, gum and resin deposition, and wound peridrum. Papilla formation. When a fungus or any other pathogen tries to enter a plant cell, it usually pushes through the cell wall using a structure called appressorium, like a thief trying to drill a hole into a wall. But the plant is not silent. Right at the entry spot, the plant quickly builds a wall-like bump inside the cell wall called papilla. This papilla is made up of callose. It is a carbohydrate and lignin, silica and antimicrobial compounds. Because of this, the pathogen finds it very hard to penetrate further. For example, in barley and wheat, no, papilla formation is a common defense against powdery mildew fungi. Tylose formation. Inside the plant, water moves through a tiny tube called xylem vessel. Think of them like a water pipes in a building. When a pathogen tries to spread through these pipes, the plant forms tyloses. These are balloon-like outgrowth from neighboring parenchyma cells that push into the xylem vessel. This balloon structure completely blocks the xylem so the pathogen cannot move easily from one place to other through the vascular system. Abscission layer formation. When a pathogen infects a small part of leaf, fruit or flower, the plant may form an abscission layer. It is a thin layer of special cells that develops below the infected tissue. This layer acts like a scissor for cutting off the infected part from the healthy plant. By doing this, the plant prevents the pathogen from spreading deeper into the rest of the healthy plant. Biochemical defense mechanism. Just like our body makes antibodies and chemicals against germs, likewise, plants also make some special chemicals to fight the pathogen. These can be preformed, that is already present, or induced, produced only after the infection. Next, coming to preformed biochemical defense mechanism, these are the ready-made medicine stored in the plant. For example, antimicrobial compounds, enzyme inhibitors, and toxic secondary metabolites. Antimicrobial compounds. These are the chemicals made by plants that directly kill or stop the growth of pathogens like bacteria, fungi, etc. For example, phenolic compounds, cyanogenic glycoside, saponins are the example for antimicrobial compounds. Enzyme inhibitors. Pathogens like bacteria, fungi release some enzymes to break the plant cell wall and enter into their tissue. Plants fight back by producing enzyme inhibitors that block those pathogen enzymes, like putting a lock for their protection. For example, protease inhibitor, trypsin inhibitor, alpha amylase inhibitors, etc. Post-existing biochemical defense or induced biochemical defense. These are the chemical responses activated only after a pathogen attack. For example, phytoalexin, PR proteins, hypersensitive responses, systematic acquired resistance that is SAR, and hormonal regulations. Pathogenesis related proteins that is PR proteins. When a pathogen attacks, plants do not just sit quietly. They switch on certain special proteins called PR proteins to fight back. They act like the immune soldiers for the plants. They induced only after the infection or injury or any stress. It is usually small, stable proteins that are secreted in the cell wall or extracellular space. Some of also act as a signaling molecules to trigger systematic acquired resistance. PR proteins are classified into several types based on their functions, such as breaking pathogen cell walls, blocking its enzyme, or signaling defense. Systemic acquired resistance SAR. It is a long-lasting, broad-spectrum defense mechanism that is activated in the entire plant after a localized infection or stress. It provides resistance against multiple pathogens, and it is similar to vaccination in humans but without antibodies. They are mediated by some chemical signals like salicylic acid, methyl salicate, and azelaic acid and pipicolic acid. Plants may not speak, but through their amazing defense mechanism, they tell us how strong nature really is. With this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.